I'm on a conference.
I'm going to begin. Community Board 1. Community Board, pardon me? Board 2. Board 3. Community
Can you
Board,
say
hold on,
President a little? Can you say President a little louder so we can hear, please? So we know. Thank you.
Community Board 3, present.
Thank you. Community Board 4.
Camacho, present.
Thank Community Board 5. Community Board 6. Community Board 7. Community Board 8. Community Board 9. On here.
Fred is on, but his mic is on mute.
Okay.
Fred. Okay, he's on.
Can we on? Okay. Right. Okay. Community Board 9. Is he still on mute? Just press out. Okay. Present. Community Board 10.
Present.
Community Board 11. Community Board 12. Community Board 13.
Present.
Community Board 14.
Gail Smith, present.
Community Board 15. Community Board 16.
Do me a favor. Do me a favor. After you have called yourself in as president, could you please go on mute because somebody had some kind of static going on. So please go on mute, please. Thank you.
Denise Morgan, present.
Community Board 16. Community Board 17.
Denise Morgan, present.
Thank
Community
you.
Board 17 is present.
Thank you, Aaron. Community Board 18.
Yeah.
Council members. Number 11. Council Member Reynoso. Council Member Cumbo.
Present.
Okay. Council Member Cornet. No. Council Member Menchaca.
Sorry, that was Cornegie present. I was still on mute.
You're still okay. Okay. Thank you, Ian. Member Menchaca. Maybe Tom's on mute. Okay. Council Member Eugene. Council Member Lander. Council Member Ampry Samuel.
Present.
Thank you, Kim. Council Member Barron. I seen Joy. Is she on mute? I seen her on the line. Councilmember Barron. I see. Councilmember. Give me a chance to unmute. Councilmember Yeager. If you need to unmute, let me know. Councilmember Lewis. Thank you. Councilmember Mizell. Councilmember Traeger. Councilmember Deutsch.
Present.
Present. Borough President. I'm Deputy BP. Present. Okay. Do anyone need to unmute themselves? Did I miss?
Ethel Ty is present.
CB,
Present.
thank you.
Present.
Thank you. Thank you. Michelle, you have the full tally. Go ahead. Please, anyone else that may have been on mute or needed the extra time to say they're present on behalf of the board they represent? Okay.
Yada here, Public Advocate Office.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That's a guest,
Thank
but
you.
we're talking about for quorum. So do we have quorum? We don't, I don't believe.
Michelle? Michelle's gonna give me a number.
Okay, you and Michelle text each other. I'm going to open up the meeting. If we do, we'll go back and
Yes.
we'll do the vote stuff because I don't want to hold anybody up. So first, I would like to thank everyone who is present for joining with us today. Again, I'm happy to see all of you. I missed the last Borough Board meeting, but my team, from what I understand, they did a good job. And I thank you for being there with them. They got a thumbs up, Kim? Thank you. Thank you. So I'm happy to be here with you this time. And I hope that all of your families and your friends and your loved ones are safe, because this has been really hard on New York City, and in particular in Brooklyn. We've been really feeling it. I don't think things will ever be the same, but it is what it is. And we have to, I don't want to encroach upon anyone's beliefs, but we have to thank the Creator for having grace and mercy, because it could be so much worse, in my opinion. So I don't want to, And again, I thank you for being here. So we have 2 orders of business that we will start with. The first one is a presentation by the New York City Civilian Complaint Review Board. We have a presenter. Savannah, would you please introduce the gentleman for us, or the lady who's the presenter?
Yes. Jahir Rose is from the Department of Civilian Complaint Review Board. He'll be here presenting in regards to updates on Know Your Rights. So Jahir, can you take the floor, introduce your title, and start your presentation, please? Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jahir Rose. I'm the Deputy Director of Outreach and Intergovernmental Affairs at the Civilian Complaint Review Board. During this time period, I just want to let everyone know that we're happy that everyone was able to join onto the call, and that we hope that everybody is healthy and your loved ones are healthy as well. So the CCRB is a city agency. I'm going to share my screen. Just wanted to verify that everybody can hear me well.
We can hear you.
Perfect.
Yep.
Can hear you.
We can hear you.
Perfect. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so the CCRB is a city agency. We're separate from the New York City Police Department. Our responsibility is to investigate, mediate, and in some cases, administratively prosecute allegations of police misconduct. We are governed by currently a 13-member board. That number will increase to 15 members as per the charter changes, to include 1 member from the Public Advocate's Office. It currently includes 5 members from the New York City Council, 3 members from the New York City Police Department, and 5 members appointed by the New York City Mayor. 1 joint appointee will be added next month. That will include a vote from the CCR, from the City Council, and from the Mayor. That individual will serve as the chair. The CCRB has 4 points of jurisdiction that we are allowed to investigate. Those 4 points are force. That's any force used during the commission of a police officer's duties. So it could look like punching, kicking, slapping, use of an impact weapon like a baton and or taser, or an officer simply drawing their weapon. Whether they do or do not discharge it, it could still be seen as an act of force. Next would be abuse of authority. Abuse of authority could look like a police officer using tactics that do not fall within the police department's jurisdiction in order to compel someone to comply with an order. So that could look like an officer stopping someone for no justifiable reason, officers refusing to give their name and badge number to an individual that they stop, and officers asking an individual about immigration status, which does not fall under the city's jurisdiction. Next, and so we pretty much notify the public that if you feel uncomfortable during an interaction, feel free to notify the CCRB. We'll investigate it. For the first two, we're verifying if the police officer's actions fell within the police patrol guide, which is the document used to guide the police officers to do their jobs appropriately. So if it did not fall within the police patrol guide, it may be deemed as misconduct. And if it did fall within the police patrol guide, then it may not be deemed as misconduct. Next category is discourtesy. Discourtesy could look like a police officer using foul or profane or derogatory language towards an individual that during the course of their duties. If an officer uses profane language and or profane gestures, either of those things may be investigated by the CCRB. And last but not least, offensive language, which is any language that is used to inappropriately or negatively describe an individual's race, religion, sexual orientation, perceived disability, and or gender identity. The CCRB can conduct thorough investigations. We do have subpoena power that allows us an ability to acquire and forcefully acquire items necessary to complete an investigation. Once again, if there's any concern regarding an actions of a police officer, individuals can make a complaint to our agency. If it does not fall within our jurisdiction, it will be referred to the agency that can investigate it. If it does fall within our jurisdiction, then it'll be thoroughly investigated in a non-biased fashion. During this time period, we do understand that individuals may have interactions with police officers. Even during this time period, FATO still is in effect. Those are the four categories of jurisdiction that I mentioned, in addition to the Right to Know Act. The Right to Know Act was implemented in 2018 in October. It changes the way police officers should be interacting with members of the public. In certain circumstances, police officers should be identifying themselves by individuals by name and badge number, offering a business card, which notifies the individual of the officer's name, badge number, rank, and precinct. That information would be something that's necessary and completely helpful to be able to file a complaint, depending on that police officer's actions. Flip side of that card has how you can make a comment and or complaint about the interactions of the officer. And last but not least, how you can obtain body camera footage from that interaction, whether you choose to make a complaint or not. In addition to that, officers under certain circumstances should also be explaining why they've conducted that stop. And last but not least, if the officer's stop results in a search, but that officer does not have a justifiable reason to conduct that search, that officer should be notifying the individual that they have the right to say no, which should be one, asking for the individual's permission to search them, and two, notifying them of their right to say no. If the individual does not speak the same language as the officer or is monolingual, then that officer should be offering language access services. The undertone of the law, that part of the law, indicates that the individual should know that that they have a choice whether to allow the officer to whether to give consent or to not give consent. Additionally, the undertone of the law also says that you should not be, it shouldn't be threatening. So it should be, you have the right to say no, but it should be, and there will be no consequences held against you if you say no. So those things being consistent, the Right to Know Act allows the individual to then tell the officer that they do not consent to the search. And if the officer has no additional reason or there's no additional evidence, then the officer should respect that right. If an individual feels as though the officer did not follow any aspect of the Right to Know Act, the CCRB does accept complaints about officers not following the Right to Know Act, and those complaints would be thoroughly investigated. During this time of COVID-19, the CCRB's 100 Church Street office is closed, and the meetings that we've been doing or the office hours that we've been having at elected officials' offices are temporarily suspended until further notice. All those things being consistent, if an individual wants to make a complaint, they can feel free to make a complaint online at the CCRB's website, or they could call our office. The complaints will be taken in remotely, and the CCRB is still at this moment conducting investigations to get through our caseload. In addition to that, under regular circumstances, there's a couple of different ways an individual can make a complaint. They can make the complaints over the phone, in person, at any precinct. So over the phone would be at our phone number. That's 1-800-341-2272. The last four numbers spell out CCRB. Also, they could call 311. It'll route them directly to our office. But they could also go into a local precinct. Any precinct does not have to same precinct where the complaint was, where the complaint originated. They could have gone to one of our sites. We do have a site in Brooklyn. We currently partner with Councilmember Robert Cornegy's office to conduct community partnership initiatives where individuals can make complaints and meet with an investigator on site at their office once a month. And last but not least, the complaints can be made online or via email. The CCRB's outreach team conducts presentations citywide. With those presentations, we also do an initiative called CCRB Courtside. And with the CCRB Courtside initiative, we will literally show up to a local basketball court, handball court, any recreational activity, and with giveaways and pretty much give the public information regarding the Right to Know Act, in addition to how to file a complaint appropriately if they experience any level of police misconduct. That's pretty much my presentation in a nutshell. The CCRB is still conducting presentations remotely. So if you have any organizations, if you'd like to conduct staff trainings, we're still doing those presentations remotely. We'd like to do as many of them as possible. So feel free to reach out to me if you'd like a presentation to be conducted in your area. I am no longer the representative covering Brooklyn because I've been promoted to the deputy director. However, I do have a coordinator that will be covering Brooklyn, and if she can't cover it, then I'll gladly cover it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jahai, for your comprehensive overview of CCRB. You can stop sharing your screen for us, please, so we can have full vantage. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, there's a raise your hand component. I don't know if you know how to do it, but if you just go like this, I can see you and I'll ask you if you have questions for him. Okay. Gail has a question. You have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Savannah, can you unmute her, please?
Let me see, Gail. Gail, okay, she's on mute. Gail?
Unmute myself. I've been unmuted. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
The only thing I wanted to do is just congratulate Jahal for his being promoted to deputy director.
Yes, that is good. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Do we have any questions? Okay, so congratulations to you again, and thank you very much for your time, and be safe.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right, blessings. All right, do we have quorum?
Yes.
We do.
No, we're at 7. We do now. We have 17.
I'm looking at the side where it says participants and it has 26. So I would assume that.
No, you gotta, no, you can't go by that. Who were absent? Call the names of the people who were
Okay.
absent, who were not
So I'm
present.
gonna, okay. Community Board 1.
Yeah.
Here.
Board 1 is here. Board 1.
So we have quorum.
Community,
Go ahead, Samantha.
can I just check one? Hold on. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Community Board 2. Okay. So yes,
No, there were a lot of council members who were not present too.
you want to do the full? 11. Reynoso. Menchaca. Lander. Eugene. Barron. Councilmember Barron. Mizell. Councilmember Mizell. Councilmember Trigger. And Councilmember Brennan. Okay. Okay, that's everyone. You want me to do who I have present? Oh, hold on. You're muted. Deputy Board President, you're on mute. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I said, we have, you know, the number of people who are absent, right? So you know our total number, so do the deduction so we know if we have quorum.
No, we have quorum, yes.
We do? All right, so the first thing we'll do is accept the minutes from the April 7th, 20 Borough Board meeting. May I please have, may I please have a motion to accept the minutes from the April 7th, 20 Borough Board meetings?
Gail's
For that,
Community
Community
Board
Board
Community
9.
Board
so moved.
15.
Wait, time out. Hands up, like we always do.
Sorry.
Okay, so Gail, you could do the motion, and then Teresa, you could do the second. All right, so Gail, go ahead.
Gail Smith, CB 14, motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Teresa Scavo, Community Board 15, seconds the motion.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next thing on the agenda requires a vote. We have a presentation by Community Board 16 on establishing a real property tax exempt for Cold War veterans, and vote on a resolution to support legislation to amend the property tax exemption for Cold War veterans. Establish real property exempt tax for Cold War veterans. So we need to vote on the resolution to support it.
The presentation will be given by Dr. Cleopatra Brown, who is the chairperson of the Veterans Committee for CBC.
Thank you. Welcome, Dr. Brown.
Would you like me to share the screen with a copy of the resolution?
Sure. Did everyone receive a copy of the resolution? They should have. Yes. All right, so do we need to share the screen with it? No. Thank you. All right, so could you please just share with us yes, Ethel? Ethel, you're on mute. Ethel, you're on mute. Savannah, unmute Ethel. All right, go ahead, Ethel, talk.
The data for Central Brooklyn, the number of Cold War veterans in Board 8.
Okay, can you let her do her presentation before we ask her questions?
Sure. Absolutely.
All right, could everybody please go on mute and let our presenter present? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Cleopatra Brown, and I'm the chairperson of Community Board 16 Veterans Affairs Committee. I'm a Cold War veteran myself and have proudly served in the United States. And also, I'm a homeowner in Brownsville section of Brooklyn. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to represent my fellow veterans and to address the real property tax exemption for Cold War veterans. Community Board 16 Veterans Affairs Committee, along with Doug Williams, the chairperson of Community Board 3 Veteran Committee, and his members, Martine Nevos, the community outreach specialist from New York City Department of Veterans Services, and Lynn Johnson, the community outreach specialist at the United States Department of Veterans Affairs, are working diligently together to ensure that all veterans are respected for their service, recognized for the sacrifice that them and their loved ones have made on behalf of this country, and to receive their earned entitlements. According to the New York State Real Property Law, Section 458/B, it authorized an exemption from real property taxation for qualified residential property owned by a person who rendered military service to the U.S. during the Cold War period between September the 2nd, 1945 through December the 26th, 1991. Each county, city, town, village, and school district have the opportunity of deciding, the option of deciding whether to grant the Cold War veterans exemption. According to New York City Department of Finance, the only veterans qualified for real property tax exemption are those who served during the following conflicts: World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan conflicts. These conflicts exclude the Cold War veterans. According to the statistics generated by congressional leaders Hakeem Jeffries and Yvette Clarke, over 40,000 veterans live in Brooklyn. 16 to 20,000 reside in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brownsville, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, and East New York. The highest concentration of veterans resides in Community Board 3 and 16. According to Rockland County, Nassau and other counties and cities in New York State adopted the legislation to provide Cold War veterans with a real property tax exemption similar to tax exemptions given to wartime veterans. On April the 24th, 2017, Senator Gallivan announces legislation to provide for the continuation of the real property tax exemption for Cold War veterans, providing that the exemption authorized previously applies to qualified owners as long as they remain qualified owners without regard to such 10-year limitation. The bill was approved by Senate and Assembly, Senate 5659A and the Assembly Bill 86510 in June 2017. According to the New York State Assembly Speaker Cole Hespe, the Committee on Veterans Affairs 2017 annual report, New York City Council includes veterans exemption. It allows the legislative body of a city to adopt a law to grant veterans an exemptions from their school taxes. This law was needed since the city of New York does not have a school board and there is no mechanism to grant the exemption to veterans residing in the 5 boroughs. On March the 7th, 2018, the City Council Committee on Finance introduced Bill number 617, establishing real property tax exemption for Cold War veterans. The title is Local Law Amends the Administrative Code of the City of New York in relation to establishing a real property tax exemption for Cold War veterans. The sponsors of this bill are Joseph Borelli, Mark Traeger, Paul Balloon, Eric Yulch, Shem Gooch, Stephen Matto, Robert Holden, Brand Lander, and Alan Maisel. The bill summary states, this law will establish a real property tax exemption for Cold War veterans, defined as someone who served on active duty in the United States Armed Forces for some period between September the 2nd, 1945 through December the 26th, 1991, and was honorably discharged or released. The exemption would apply to the veteran's primary residence or to the primary resident of the unremarried surviving spouse of the veteran, to the extent that the resident is being used for residential purpose. The exemption would be for 15% of the assessed value of the residential property, up to $39,000. Cold War veterans who are disabled as a result of their service will be eligible for an additional exemption up to $130,000. On June 25th, 2019, Community Board 16 vote in favor of the resolution for real property tax exemption for Cold War veterans. And now I will read the resolution. Whereas it is the responsibility of the Veterans Affairs Committee to work collaborative on issues and projects in the district to advocate for the needs of Community District 16 veterans population. And whereas Community District 16 is in debt to our Cold War veterans, whether they served in open hostility or during the term of the Cold War, for the sacrifices they made on behalf of their community residents as well as the entire country. And whereas it is understood that Cold War veterans are people, male and female, who served on active duty in the United States Armed Forces during the time period from September the 2nd, 1945 to December the 26th, 1991, and were discharged or released therefrom under honorable conditions. And whereas, according to New York City Department of Finance, the only veterans who qualify for real property tax exemption are those who served during the following conflicts: World War I, World War II, Korean War, Vietnam War, Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan. These conflicts exclude the Cold War veterans. According to statistics generated by Congressional leader Hakeem Jeffries and Yvette Clarke, over 40,000 plus veterans live in Brooklyn. 16 to 20,000 reside in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brownsville, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, and East New York. The highest concentration of veterans reside in Community District 3 and 16. And whereas the New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 458B, authorized the adoption of a local law to provide tax exemption from real property taxation for qualified residential real property owned by Cold War veterans, the spouse of a Cold War veteran, or the unremarried surviving spouse of the deceased Cold War veteran. And whereas such property shall be the primary residence for the Cold War veteran or the unremarried surviving spouse of a Cold War veteran, unless the Cold War veteran or unremarried surviving spouse is absent from the property due to medical reason or institutionalization for up to 5 years. And whereas the Senate 5659A to 76510 amends Section 45B of the Real Property Tax Law to allow the exemption to continue for as long as the homeowner remains a qualifying owner without regards to such 10-year limitation set forth in Section 458B of the Real Property Tax Law of the State of New York. And whereas Cold War veterans who are qualified property owners or an otherwise qualified owner should be exempt from taxation to the extent of 25% of the assessed value of such property. And whereas Cold War veterans who receive compensation rating from the United States Veterans Affairs or from the United States Department of Defense because of service-connected disability, qualifying residential real property shall receive an additional exemption which is equal to 1/2 of their Veteran Administration service-connected disability rating, multiplied by the assessed value of the property. And whereas the exemption shall continue in full force and effect of all appropriate subsequent tax years, and the owner or owners of the property shall not be required to reapply each year. Applicants should be required to reapply on or before the appropriate taxable status date if the percentage of disability increases or decreases, or may reapply if other changes have occurred which affect qualification for an increase or a decreased amount of exemption. And therefore, the Veterans Affairs Committee calls upon the Brooklyn Borough Board to recognize Cold War veterans and support legislation that would amend the New York City Department of Finance real property tax exemption to include the Cold War veterans. Veterans have dedicated their lives to this country, including myself, and deserve to be appreciated for their commitment and to receive their earned entitlements. At this time, according to New York City Department of Finance veteran exemption, Cold War veterans are being denied because we do not qualify as a veteran. As gentrification continues to rapidly increase in communities of color, our property taxes are also on the rise. Once again, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to represent my fellow veterans. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your informative presentation. I believe that Ethel, you had a question you wanted to ask?
I want to ask if there were numbers for Community Board 8 as to the number of Cold War veterans.
I don't have the numbers for Community Board 8. I only have the numbers for Community Board 3 and Community Board 16. I didn't know if there was a Veterans Committee. Community Board 8 has a Veterans Committee.
No, we do not. Who should we contact to get the data?
You can contact the Congressional Office, because that's where we receive our data.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, if someone else has a question, could you raise your hand, please? Any questions? Fred?
Yes, Fred Baptiste, Community Board 9. I just wanted to be clear. So now what we're voting on, is this for an exemption that's specifically for those two districts, or we're talking about something that's going to be presented for citywide adoption? All veterans for those periods are going to be, for that period, are going to be eligible for the tax reduction.
This is for all veterans citywide, all veterans citywide. We have upstate New York, they're already receiving the exemption. Rockland County are receiving it. Nassau County, it's only the 5 boroughs that's not receiving it.
And I think she mentioned Ward 3 and Ward 16 because of their geographic location, and she talked about gentrification. So based upon the presentation, it makes one wonder why the local boroughs, the 5 boroughs, and why since 3 and 16, which is heavily a minority district, are, so it makes you wonder. Do we have any more questions? Okay, so may I have a move to vote? I think we have to do a roll call vote with this. I'm not sure. So I guess so.
We do.
So yeah, I'm sure we do. Thank you. So may I have a motion?
I move that we support and request that veterans, Cold War veterans residing in New York City be given the property tax exemption.
Okay, and that's from FO Board 8. And Fred? Can't hear you. You have to unmute or speak up.
Fred Baptiste, Committee Board 9, I second the motion.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. Savannah? I don't know, I see you, so could you go ahead? Thank you. You're muted. Okay.
All right. Community Board 1.
Yes.
Community Board 2. Community Board 3. Community Board 4.
Yes.
Community Board 5. Community Board 6. Community Board 7. Community Board 8.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
Community Board 9.
I support my fellow veterans. Yes.
Community Board 10.
In favor.
Community Board 11. Community Board 12. Wait, Community Board 11.
Yeah, she's allowed.
She says yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Community Board 11 muted.
Okay. Community Board 12. Community Board 13.
Yes.
Board 14.
Yes.
Community Board
Yes.
15.
Yes.
Community Board 16.
Yes.
Community Board 17.
Yes.
Community Board 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
On behalf of the Brooklyn Borough President, I vote yes.
Yep.
Okay,
I'm with council members now. Just bear with me, guys. So I pull up everyone. And I see some others has joined us since the meeting started. So, Councilmember Levin, Councilmember Reynoso, Councilmember Cornegie,
Yes.
Councilmember Cornegie,
they said yes.
I'm
Yes.
sorry. Okay, thank you. All right.
Yeah, it sounds good. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Councilmember Cornegie?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember
Councilmember
Combo.
Machaka? Councilmember Lander? Councilmember Eugene? Councilmember Ampry Samuel?
You gotta unmute her. Unmute her,
Kim?
Serena.
Councilmember Ampry Samuel?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Said yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you hear Combo, Councilmember Combo?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Barron?
You hear me? Hello?
Yes, we hear you,
Yeah.
Joy.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Brennan? Michael? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
He said yes.
That's me. Yes.
Thank you. Just want to make sure I hear. Yeager, Councilmember Yeager. Councilmember Lewis. Let me see. Christia. Lewis. I'm looking for the tab.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Mizell. Councilmember Trigger. And Councilmember Deutsch.
Yes.
Okay.
Was that actually the council member?
No, I don't think so.
Sound like him.
Braun.
You sound like him. I was gonna welcome him. Welcome.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. 7. 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, so we pass. Total vote
So
18.
congratulations. Congratulations, and I thank you very much for coming forward with your presentation.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that wraps up the vote, the presentations. So do we have any unfinished business? Okay, but I want to just bring up something. It's not new business, but some of you asked, not really, I think one board wanted to know about the community boards. We'll send out the applications as we always have. However, they will be emailed. So we're making sure that we have email addresses for everyone. In case someone doesn't have an email address, then we will do a mail for that person. But people who are being accepted to the board will get it by mail. People who are not being placed on the board by email. People who are not being placed on the board will also get it by email. But we will also mail it. But we just want to make sure that it gets out timely because we are working from home. So we want to make sure. Does anyone have any questions about that? Okay. The other thing is, I know the council members are not on the line, but whether or not they send in their recommendations timely is not going to stop us from putting up our community board recommendations because we have a deadline and we don't plan to miss the deadline. So if some of you don't have 50 members on your board, it will not be on account of the borough president's office. And let me finish, Ethel, and then I'll ask questions. It stipulates that we have to have a maximum of 50. So that's what it says. So if we don't have 50, sometimes you don't. If you have 25 from the BP, that's it, because the council members are famous for not getting the stuff in timely. And this year, because of COVID, is really bad. And we have to, by law, have new community board members. So we're going to do what we need to do. in order to make sure that we have a new community board in place. And as the council members can find time to get us the information for us to review and for us to negotiate with them, the ones that we approve of, then we'll add them onto the boards. I'm hopeful that by the end of this week, the council members will get all their stuff in. So for example, Joy, you work for a council member. So if you could please share with your member that it's important. Some council members are, I have already have a commitment from them already, but a lot I don't. So I'm just letting you know, if you end up with a small number of people on your community boards, it is what it is for now. The law says you have to have a maximum of 50. So I'm just making that clear. Okay, now, Ethel, you had a question. You're on mute. You're on mute. You were on mute.
Ethel.
Okay.
What's the deadline, please?
I can hear you.
What is the deadline, please, for applications?
What do you mean, what is the deadline for applications? You mean for the people to be placed on the board?
I'm not sure.
Well, the applications for deadlines to be submitted was February 14th.
Okay.
We have until the end of May to have the board in place. They give you the final extension, which is the end of May, which is the one we always option to use because we have to wait for our partners in government because everybody's crazy busy. All right.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Fred, you have a question?
Yes, I do. So with regards to that as well, does the Borough President's Office accept applications mid-year as well? Because sometimes we'll have constituents.
I didn't hear you. Say that again.
Does the Borough President's Office also accept applications off cycle? So after this, do people, if they find out?
I'm gonna cut you off because we have a rolling application process. You can put your application in all year round, but the 14th of February was the cutoff point for this time period. So anyone putting in the applications now is for the next go round. And what we do is we hold excess applications that was submitted in by the 14th of February so that if somebody's kicked off the board or if somebody resigns from the board, we can review them and then put new people on.
Thank you.
Rolling process. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, I wasn't, no, because your face looked like you didn't. Thank you, whoever else said yes, of course. Another question, please? Any more questions? Joy, you're on mute. You're on mute. Go ahead, Joy.
The phase-in of the term, the so-called term limit for the community board members, that starts when
when I'm out. When I'm out. When I'm out. It starts in 20. Starts when we're out. 22. Our last appointment, we're done. It has nothing. That's the next borough president's office.
Okay.
Hallelujah. Okay. Hallelujah. Happy. That's right. You know I'm happy, right, D'Alice? Happy dance. I'm done. Any other questions? Okay, so I want to thank all of you for taking your time out to join us. Again, I'm really happy to see all your faces. I wish we had the full complement because so many people have been ill. I was very ill, but thank God I'm good now. Many of us have passed on, so it's just good to see all of you. I look forward to the day when we can be together in one room, and we don't have to worry about social distancing. And me, I'm gonna have a glass of white wine and a glass of red wine for each of you, whoever wants it, and some salsa or something, so we can celebrate, because that will definitely be a happy day. I'm gonna be in church thanking God, and then turn up after. Yeah. I'm really happy to see you. I thank all of you. I really want all of you to please be safe. Wear your masks, wear your gloves. Don't take any chances, no matter who it's with, because you don't know who is a carrier from who isn't, and you don't know. Some people had underlying diseases and they didn't know it, and they're no longer with us on earth. They're with us in spirit, but they're not here. So again, I thank all of you. And Teresa, an extra thank you to you, because I know they threw you out, because Teresa's in Kingsborough College, and they told her she had no time, you got to get out. She couldn't even get all her stuff, and I needed her attendance sheets, and she worked her magic to get it for me, and I'm really appreciative. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. So all of you be safe, and I thank you again. All right, be safe.
Be safe.
Safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Be safe.
I'm signing out.
Okay. Great, guys. Thank you.
And I thank my team. Great job, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen, Michelle.
Thank you. you.
You guys did a great job. Team Adams, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Karen? We still have some other callers. Saran is still. That participant thing is
You get out.
They just click on the X. Click on the X.
Yep, click on the X. If you want to exit, just click on the X.
Jabarin. Still got one left.
Take it easy, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
We didn't kick you out. Later.
Okay. So now it's just us guys. That wasn't bad at all.
Yeah, but we're still being recorded, so I'm gonna stop and then we'll
Okay.
come back on. Okay.
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 So Serena, you see that participants thing? That's pretty cool.